Welcome, everybody, to our talk this morning. Our speakers this morning, Jason Everett and Cristalina Padilla. They come to you from Catholic Answers in San Diego, California. And I would like you to welcome our guest speakers this morning, Jason and Cristalina. Jason, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. To get started, I need a guy volunteer from the audience. I need a big guy. Big. Okay, you're pretty big. Okay, come on down. Yeah, that'll work. Come on down. Give him a hand. Come on up here. There you go. Now, what's your name? Luke. Good to meet you, Luke. Everybody say hi, Luke. Hi, Luke. Now, Luke, do you know what the talk is on today?
It's on chastity.
Yeah, I'd say it's a sex talk today. So, since this is a sex talk, we've got to cover certain issues like how far it's too far to go with a girl on a date, and stuff like that. So, what Luke and I are going to do is he and I are actually going to show you guys how far is too far to go on a date. Okay? Now, and in order to do this, I'm going to be the guy, Luke is going to be the girl, okay? Now, Luke's not a very pretty girl, but that's okay. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. But we can change that. So we'll get Luke prettied up a little bit. So why don't you throw this on? There you go. That's the front. It's a little nappy. You'll be pretty. There you go. That's frightening. Now, I've actually never dated anyone named Luke before, so we're gonna give you a name change, and your name is gonna be Shanae, okay? So now, Shanae and I, we decide to go for a date. So we go for a date at the Grand Canyon, like right here, and I start thinking to myself, well, how far do you think I get my beloved Shanae to the edge of the Grand Canyon without actually throwing him off the Grand Canyon? Him, her, it, whatever, but there's only one way we can find out how far you can get to that edge, so I've got to pick you up into my arms, okay? All right, so hold on to this. Hold on to me. Hold on tight. Hold on to Mike. Now, how far can we get to the edge? Can we go further?
That's far enough.
Okay. All right. Take a seat. Give him a hand. Good job, Luke. Thank you, bud. Good man. Now, what's the point of that whole deal? Point of that is basically this, that none of us guys would take a girl who we love to a dangerous place and say, well, how close can I get to killing her? Usually we don't ask, but when I was in high school, we'd always ask in our relationship, well, how far can you go? I mean, should we do this together? Should we do that together? And in high school, they'd give us the sex talk, but every time they gave us a sex talk, all it was about was like guilt or fear. It'd be like, they'd get up there and they'd be like, sex is bad, sex is dirty, or they'd be like, you're gonna die, sex is gonna kill you, and they'd try to scare the pants off you or pants back onto you if that be the case. But it was all about fear. All they tried to do is scare us. They'd sit you down and they'd talk to you about gonorrhea, but they never sat us down and said, now here's the difference between love and lust. Here's how you know when you really love a girl, and here's how you know when you're getting used. They never made that stuff clear to us. So I remember I was in high school. I hooked up with this one girl, and we were doing all sorts of stuff, and she stops me. And she's like, Jason, you're not going to leave me like the other guys, are you? And I was like, no. And she's like, oh, you're so sweet. And I was like, okay, all right, anyway. And whatever. And we did different things. Then we came up to that line, and I had to ask myself, okay, should I lose my virginity to this girl? And I thought, well, do I love her? And I thought, well, I've known her for 3 days. And I'm like, this is love. And I could hear in the back of my heart this voice that just said, Jason, this gift is not for her. That gift is for your bride. Please wait for her. And we cooled things down. We went our separate ways. I hooked up with another girl, came right up the line, and then the same voice, Jason, this gift is not for her. That gift is for my bride. Please wait for her. And we cooled things off, and so to this day, I'm still a virgin, and I'm as happy as can be. And most people think that by the time you get in your 20s, like I'm going to die of virginity or something. I'm going to start having like virginity conniption fits or something. Like I'll start foaming at the mouth from virginity, and I'll explode and die here. Luke will be like, whoa, what happened to the sex guy? And you're like, oh, you didn't hear? He was a virgin. That'll kill you. Forget about it. The virginity's not lethal. I was at the airport the other day, and I saw this magazine. I had to pick it up here. It's called Complete Woman Magazine. All right, just a splendid periodical. Oh, subscriber. Okay, and so this guy's in here. They're talking about sex. And this guy says, quote, he said, sex is extremely important to me. When I'm in a relationship, it's essential. In fact, a year ago, I felt compelled to break up with a woman I really loved because we didn't have sex enough. The lack of sex nearly killed me. So apparently he's rushed to the hospital for lack of sex or something. But this is what we're basically told, that if you're not having sex, something's wrong with you. Maybe you're dropped on your head as a baby or something. But then they say, but if you have had sex, it's too late for you anyway. We hear this constantly. And I know some of you are virgins, and I know some of you are not virgins. And frankly, I don't care what happened last weekend, last month, last year. I mean, it's in the past, and I mean, I care, but what's happened has happened. For those of you who are virgins, I say good for you, because people who get married as virgins have a divorce rate that's 60 to 70% lower than those who won't wait for marriage. Now, some of you are thinking, well, Jason, look, I'm not a virgin anymore. Or, Jason, I had my virginity taken from me. Does that mean I'm going to have a messed up marriage? If you're like me, you're so sick of the whole divorce thing. I was just over to high school in Washington. After the talk, a junior comes up to me, and he goes, Jay, I know what you mean about divorce. He said, Jason, my dad is on his 9th marriage. High school junior had seen his dad get 8 divorces. Now in L.A., I live in San Diego. Up the coast in L.A., there are jewelry stores in L.A. where you can rent wedding rings. You don't have to buy them anymore because they know you're just going to dump your wife. You might as well save some money in the whole exchange. I found that out because I had to go shopping recently because Kristalina and I got engaged a couple months back, which is a pretty cool deal, so thank you very much. But it starts to make a bit of sense. But what about everything that comes before sex? Can you do this on a date? Can you do that? Easiest way to figure it out is this. We're at this high school in Chicago. At the end of the talk, we did a Q&A. Guy raised his hand, and he goes, okay, Jason. He says, your talk was fun. He said, but can we get specific? I said, well, sure. And he goes, well, I want to know exactly how far I can go with my girlfriend. I said, well, that's a good question. What do you want to do with her? And he was like, uh-oh. I said, yeah, okay. I said, well, we're not in 3rd grade. We can be specific, mature. What do you want to do? And he's like, cool. He's like, can we do this and this and this and this and this? And he goes through this list of sexual favors. And I said, well, okay, we'll slow down. Pick one. And he's like, okay. He goes, I got it. He goes, oral sex, can we do that on a date? And I said, well, I'm going to have you answer your own question. And he's like, oh, good. And I said, well, do you want to get married one day? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to get married one day. I said, that's cool. So I said, so if you're going to get married one day, I said, that means that your future wife, your future bride, she's out there somewhere right now, isn't she? And for the first time in his 17-year life, he thought about his future wife. And he said, yeah, she's out there. Cool. And I said, but let's say she doesn't live here in Chicago. Let's say she lives where I live in San Diego. School's just getting out right now. So she's coming home from class with her boyfriend, who's a guy that you are never going to meet. And he's got his arm around your future bride. And he's saying, baby girl, I love you so much. I'm always going to be here for you. Your eyes are so beautiful. And she's like, oh, you're so sweet. And he walks her home and he sits her down on his couch and he's like, hey, baby girl, you feeling fine? Because you looking fine. She's like, stop. And I said to the guy, I was like, dude, I go, you know what's going on that couch, don't you? And he was like, yeah. And I go, that guy, he's emotionally manipulating your future bride into giving him oral sex, trying to make her think that if she gives him that, he'll like her more when he's just using her more. I go, does that bug you? And the guy was like, ooh, gross. No, I don't care. And I was like, really? Does it bug you at all? He looked at the floor and he's like, no, I don't care. And I go, what if it was going on right now as we speak? That guy doing that with the woman who'll kiss your children goodnight. Does it bother you? The guy was like, the guy next to him in class was like, I'd be ticked off. And the guy's like, what? And I said, see, it's pretty easy. If you don't want some guy going there with your future wife, it's a good place to draw the line as well. And this is not a condemnation of any of us. It's a calling to all of us of a better and a deeper kind of love. And I'm not going to stand up here in front of you guys and say, you men in the audience, you guys have to be like me. Because it's a joke. It's a lie. If you're a guy and I'm a guy, we're identical. Look in your heart. Same thing as mine. There's this desire to lust after girls, but then there's this desire to properly love a girl at the same time, and there is a tension. But I want you girls to realize the guys you're sitting next to, we've all been lied to about manhood. We've been lied to at some point in the locker room that, dude, if you want to be a man today, dude, you got to get some from the girls. Because if you get some with ladies, dude, you're the man. But think about it. Get some from a girl. Getting some sounds like a couple of, like, 7th graders, and they sneak into a convenience store and they shoplift, like, Jolly Rancher candies, you know, and then they like, run into the parking lot, like, you know, they run funny because they're all disproportionate because of puberty. You know, their feet are too big and their knuckles drag. And then, you know, they get into the parking lot, and then they hide behind a dumpster, and they pull the candy out, and they're like, I got a red one and a grape one. Whoop, a grape one. Did you get some? Did you get some? And you notice the same mentality. Dude, you get some with that chick? Dude, you sexually conquer that girl? Because if you emptied of her innocence, you robbed her purity, dude, you're the man because you emptied the girl. And we know that this is totally missing the point of manhood. I don't get my manhood by emptying a girl. I get my manhood by denying myself for love of a girl. But how is a guy supposed to sacrifice himself for a girl? Well, to be honest, the reason, honestly, why I always confused love with lust in high school is because the influence in my life back then of the pornography. And the thing is that when the teenage girls find out that teenage guys struggle with the pornography, it's not that the girls are all mad at us. They just feel sorry for us that we can't relate to women in a more interesting way. Because as a guy, the pornography as a guy is the perfect way for a guy to shoot his future marriage in the head. Because it trains me that girls, they're things to be used for my kicks. She's got to be constantly sexually available, physically flawless, and when you get done bored lusting after, you go to the next fantasy, and it's no big deal at all because you can judge the value of a woman by how much lust she generates in me. And we would laugh it off. And I'm sure there's some guys in the audience, and in their heads right now, they're thinking, dude, whatever, I got some porn on the internet, I got some Maxim magazines, it's not a problem, I'm not getting anyone pregnant. And while he laughingly tries to think it's not a problem, but almost desperately try to convince himself, what happens to a young guy is he gets emasculated. Emasculation means that when a young man is robbed of the ability to be masculine. And pornography flips that backwards, so we men learn to sacrifice and empty the girls for the sake of ourselves, and we miss the whole point of manhood. And in high school, we would totally laugh it off. We're like, dude, who cares? I'm not getting anyone pregnant. It's all good. I'm not killing it. I'm not hurting anyone. We'd have no clue what we were looking at. You know, Pamela Anderson, the big supermodel for, out in Los Angeles, you know when she first posed for Playboy and she started crying? She finally pulled herself together, and they took the nude photos. That when you're looking at porn, you're not looking at just some naked body. You're looking at the corpse of a woman's heart. But we would laugh it off, saying, dude, I'm not hurting anyone. We don't realize how much we're hurting ourselves. You know, Maxim magazine, it's a new smutty magazine they have for guys. You know, Maxim magazine has paid computer companies up to $20,000 a pop to generate fake cover models. I'm not saying she's airbrushed. Her legs are fake. Her face is fake. Her breast is fake. The whole woman is completely computer generated. So we as guys are trained to expect our wives to live up to this impossibly perfect fantasy. And where does this leave our brides one day? I had a friend, and he basically assumed, dude, who cares? I'll throw the porn away when I get married. I'm getting married in a few months. Then you can have sex whenever you want. It's all good. And the guy was divorced in 3 months. All that he did was transfer the fantasies of lust from the porn onto his bride, and the marriage is done as soon as it began. So if you think you're going to get married as a guy and you have the porn, ask yourself one question. Ask yourself, dude, is my bride's body, is it worth waiting to see? Or is she frankly not even worth waiting to see? Because if I can trash the porn tonight, I'm training myself in faithfulness before I ever even meet that girl. Having come with me from San Diego is my fiancée, Kristalina, so please give her a warm welcome. Come on up, hon.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, now, I'm coming from a completely different angle than Jason here. When I was about a sophomore in high school, I had my first serious relationship. And after a while of dating, we thought we were in love and everything was great. And slowly, we started to get very physical. And slowly, the pressure started to set into the relationship. And he said, well, girl, if you really loved me, if you truly loved me, you'd prove it to me. So I needed advice. So I went to my girlfriends and I said, well, he kind of wants to do this with me and he wants to do that. And they said, well, if you aren't doing this with him and if you aren't doing that with him, then I mean, well, what's wrong with you? Everybody's doing it. You love him, right? And I thought, well, yeah, I love him. They said, well, then what's the problem? So at the age of 15, I lost my virginity, thinking it was going to cause this huge, great emotional bond between us. We were going to be on cloud nine and so in love. And in all actuality, it eventually destroyed any love in the relationship, and all respect was just thrown out the window. Because if I couldn't even respect my body, How was he supposed to respect it? And after a while of dating, it seemed like he didn't want to spend time with me anymore. He was basically spending the time with my body. Now, when a girl is being used, she knows it. She knows it in the depths of her heart. She may deny it, she may ignore it, but she knows it, and I knew it. And after a while, we were constantly fighting. He was cheating on me, and we broke up and went our separate ways. Now, I will never forget the day when he walked away from me for the very last time. And as he walked away from me, all I could think about was that guy's taking something with him that never belonged to him in the first place. But I can't get it back, right? What's the point? It's already gone. So there I was in the cafeteria talking with my girlfriends. And I came to this conclusion, okay, if a guy can date me for about 6 months without sleeping with me, then he must love me. Then I'll sleep with him. And I think now 6 months? 6 months is the price that I put on my body? If he gives me just a little bit of that time and just a little bit of that attention, that's the definition of love. And I carried this mentality all through high school. He was the first guy that I slept with, but he wasn't the last because it starts a vicious cycle. And after a while, I was pretty deep into it. Now, I'm not standing up here pointing my finger at you guys saying, you guys, you're the problem. No. I happen to believe that you guys will be as much of a gentleman as we ladies require. Now, I wasn't acting like a lady back then, nor dressing like a lady back then. Therefore, they didn't feel the need to rise up and act like a gentleman around me. And what seems to happen sometimes is that girls will give guys sex for the sake of getting the love from them. And guys will give girls the love for the sake of getting the sex from the girls. And it can go both ways. Now, with this lifestyle, I got into the partying, I got into the drinking, I got into the clubbing. You name it, I was into it. And granted, at the time, yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. It was very attractive. And I know what that's like. But I also know what it's like to wake up the next day when that party's over, when those friends are gone, and when I was there by myself. And I remember waking up thinking, I can't believe I did that last night. I hope I don't have to see his face in the hallway at school on Monday. What if he tells everybody what we did last night? What if I'm pregnant? What am I going to tell my mom? What if I have a disease now? What am I going to do? All of these things constantly going through my head. And the night before, my friends would always say to me, oh, it's all fun and games. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. But I can promise you and stand up here today and say, the next morning, the fun and games was over. And I woke up hating myself, and I woke up with nothing but disgust and regret. And I knew deep in my heart it wasn't worth it. There was a girl that came up to me after one of our talks, and she said, you know, during the talk I was thinking, all the hooking up with guys, all the going to parties, doing this and that. She goes, I realized I was just a prostitute who wasn't getting paid. And it hit her. It hit her hard. Now, after a while of living this lifestyle, my mother had an idea what was going on in my life. Most parents have an idea what's going on in your life. As much as I thought I was fooling my mother, I was really fooling myself. And she came up to me one day and she said, Kristalina, there's a talk on relationships this weekend, and you're going to it. I said, a sex talk? Are you kidding me? I'm not going to go listen to some dork talk about sex. Thanks, but no thanks. She said, no, you're going. I don't care if you like it or not. And I thought, fine, okay. I'll go to her little talk. I'll sit in the very back of the room for 15 minutes, and I'm out of there. I have a party to go to. I have friends to see. I don't have time. And in that 15 minutes that I sat there, my life was changed. There was a guy who was very honest, blunt, and real. He talked about all of the girls, all of the sex, all the pornography, all of the partying he had been into, and he just laid it out. And I felt like that guy, he had grabbed my hand out of the audience, and he walked through my life. Like he could see the things I was most ashamed of and hiding, and I thought, well, what's the difference? He's done the same exact things I've done, and I just watched him, and he just had this peace, this joy, and this confidence that he carried about himself that I didn't see that in my friends. I didn't see that in the places I went to, and I definitely didn't see that in the guys I was dating, and I wanted it. But he had one quality above all of them that I wanted more than anything. He wasn't ashamed of himself. I sat in my seat trying to figure out one day that I hadn't been ashamed of myself after I'd started living that lifestyle. I couldn't find one. A single day of just true peace and joy, not worried what I'd done prior that night, prior that weekend, prior that month. Never any peace, always worry. And I realized in that moment I needed to get my standards out of the gutter and raise them as high as I possibly could, and I needed to start respecting my body for once. And I went home that night and I wrote down every single thing that I had done, which was a lot and it was very overwhelming. Then I wrote down everything this guy had said to me, and I put it in an envelope and I hid it in my bedroom. Because I knew that weekend that temptation was going to be there. And I can promise each and every one of you, those temptations will always be there. But God always promises a way out. And in a sense, that letter was mine. And sure enough, that weekend, there was that party, there were my friends, there were those guys, and I ran to that letter. And it was a very harsh reminder what was there waiting for me, and I didn't do it again. Instead, I wrote another letter, and every single time I was tempted to go back to that lifestyle, I would read my old letters and write a new one. So now I have this huge stack of letters of all of the no's that I've said in my life. Now, Jason here has waited 27 years for his future bride. In 2 weeks, we're getting married. I can't stand up here and say, on those Friday nights, on those weekends I was out partying with my friends, I held myself back for love of him. That I was respecting my body for love of my future husband, because I wasn't, and that's a lie. And I can stand up here and I can look in your eyes, all of your eyes. But every day for the rest of my natural life, I will look into those eyes. And it tears me up that I allowed someone to rob him of a gift that was meant solely for him and no other. Now, Jason knows everything I've done in my past. He knows it all and he accepts it all. But he loves me for the person that I've become, and that's what matters most. But when I turned my life around, a lot of my friends, they didn't get it. They thought it was some big joke. They just constantly made fun of me. They're like, well, what are you, a prude now? What are you, too good for us? What's your problem? They just couldn't get it. And they were just constantly making fun of me. And I went home one day and I told someone what was going on. And the best advice they could give me was, oh, don't worry about it. Just ignore it. You're doing the right thing. Well, I tell you today, if anyone makes fun of you for living out a lifestyle of chastity, of purity, of respecting your body, and you get made fun of for that, you remember it. You remember every single word they say to you. Go home, make a book of it, write it all down. Because when you stand in front of your bride or in front of your husband on your wedding day, you tell me, where is the laughter? Where is the mockery? Who is going to be making fun of you then? Nobody. There will be complete silence in that place on that day. And any of those people that made fun of you would pay $1 million to be in your shoes. And when you stand up there, you will say, I will honor you and I will cherish you all the days of my life. Well, today's a day of my life, and today right now is the day of your lives. So keep that in mind and take it to heart, because your lives are going to be so much more than these 4 walls in this high school, and it's going to go way and far beyond that. For those of you in the audience that are virgins, I have the utmost respect for you. And I think that is just awesome. And don't ever be ashamed of that, but be proud of that. Because I know plenty of people who would love to trade places with you, and I am one of them. For those of you in the audience that have made past mistakes, I don't care where you've been, I don't care what you've done, because frankly, I've been there and I've done that. And it is never too late to start over. There was a girl in Philadelphia that came up to me after one of our talks, and it turns out she had slept with 15 guys in the past 3 months. Now, you know the names her school had for her, the label that they called her. That girl, she is a slut, and that's all she's ever going to be. And I asked her, I said, why are you doing this to yourself? She said, oh, it's fun. You go to parties, you hook up, it's fun. And I said, is it really fun? And for once, someone took this poor girl seriously. She said, look, no, it's not fun. She goes, my parents are going through a divorce right now. The minute I walk into my home, there's nothing but hurt and hate. And just for the moment when those guys hold me, it feels like love. Even though I know it's not, at least I feel like somebody wants me. That girl is not a slut. She's not a this. She's not a that. She has a heart identical to yours and to mine. And ultimately, all that we want is love. So if it's too late for her to start over, then it's too late for me to start over. And frankly, it is never too late for anyone to start over. I don't care who you are, where you've been, what you've done. It doesn't matter. All that matters now is where you go from here. Now, later on in the talk, I'll give you a couple means and ways that you can actually live this lifestyle out. Thank you.
I, Jason,
Take you, Kristalina,
take you, Kristalina,
to be my wife.
to be my wife.
I promise to be true to you
I promise to be true to you
in good times
in good times
and in bad,
and in bad,
in sickness
sickness
and in health.
and in health.
I will love you
I will love you,
and honor you
honor you
all the days of my life.
all the days of my life.
And you repeat after me, Kristalina. I, Kristalina,
I, Kristalina,
take you, Jason,
take you, Jason,
to be my husband.
to be my husband.
I promise to be true to you
I promise to be true to you
in good times
in good times
and in bad,
and in bad,
in sickness
in sickness
and in health.
and in health.
I will love you
I will love you
and honor you
and honor you
all the days of my life.
all the days of my life.